Thank you very much. And as we're two presenters, we have to use these microphones. So it is not a karaoke show you're going to attend. But we want to start by saying sorry because the abstract in the program has no relation to our presentation. So if you read the abstract, this will be something else. So there has been a mistake. Sorry for that. The background for this study, or this paper, is a study we have done in a program in Linköping University, Sweden. It is called the Y program. It's a program of applied physics and electrical engineering. And it is a 5-year graduate engineering program. And it is about enrolled about 150 students a year. Can you hear me? And the program is taught in modules. And the first years, students study these modules in parallel. You study more than one course at one time. And after 2 or 3 years, there are elective courses. Students can choose a profile. And all students have to write a final grade project. The CDIO curriculum in 1999, by grant from the Wallenberg Foundation in Sweden, it was possible for Linköping University, Chalmers University, KTH in Stockholm, and MIT in Boston to start the CDIO initiative. And in Linköping, the first real CDIO cohort of students started in the year 2002, and they were planning to graduate in 2007. And the program is organized that you have a program study board with a chair, and in the board there are teachers and students. And the board buys, you can say, courses from different departments, but it is the board who is responsible for the quality of the program.
For the purpose of this presentation and this conference paper, we have used 2 different sets of data, namely one teacher focus group interview made by me and a set of student interviews made by Elinor. In a focus group interview, you're supposed to discuss a certain topic. And the participants can also, of course, interact with each other and discuss this topic, and they are encouraged to do so. In my study, the topic was teaching at university, and the focus was the Y program at Linköping University. I conducted this focus group interview in June 2010. There were 5 teachers taking part in it, 4 male teachers and 1 female teacher. All these teachers had experiences from teaching in the Y program. They had also experiences from the CDI courses and the implementation of the Bologna reform.
And the interviews are from a larger longitudinal study that were made in several cohorts. But in this cohort, we had recurrent interviews with 10 students, 10 male students, 10 female students, from the first month about their expectations and then their experiences all throughout the program. And our background, we are not teachers in this program. We come from the subject of pedagogy. We're teachers in pedagogy, and we're also working at our staff development unit, teaching and learning development. So that was the background.
We will now present 3 important results where there is a correspondence between the 2 groups. And we will give some examples of how these opinions are expressed by as well teachers as students. So first, CDIO courses are highly valued. And what do the students say?
The students say that these courses are joyful, they are useful for the future employability, but they are very time-consuming.
And the teachers say that the CDIO courses are nice breaks that make the program more vivid, vital and stimulating, and the courses are extremely relevant for an emergent engineer. CDIO courses are added in a traditional curriculum.
The students say that these courses are a nice break from maths and other stuff, but they also say that these are not in line with the traditional assessment scheme where they have examination at a certain time, because this is different examinations. And because it is soft skills that are assessed.
And the students say that these CDIO courses are supplements in a traditional curriculum. The image of the wise student.
Wise student, the students say that a wise student in relation to other engineering students is very smart, hardworking, but they also say that they have to conceal their identity when they go to social settings, because otherwise people will look at them as nerds.
And the teachers say that the wise student is quiet, smart, and disciplined. We will understand these results with the help of a conceptual framework.
And so we use the concepts we can find also in the Bologna curriculum. For example, the concept of alignment, something is aligned to something, is linked to, in line with. And for example, the students and these teachers say that CDIO courses are not experienced to be aligned to traditional courses because they are added to them. Instead, they can say there might be some dissonance in a program when they have to sort of adjust to traditional courses and then these CDIO courses, which they sometimes feel are not really related to the subject courses. So alignment and dissonance are two concepts we use. And the third concept we use to understand why this contradictory results is the concept of culture, because we use the concept as norms that guide human action in a given context. And this, in this program, it means, for example, that teaching, what is called teaching and what the student accept teachers to do, is to start with theory, principle, and then when students are mature enough, they can apply their knowledge and work in projects. So there is sort of an idea of how teaching should be done. And that is sort of a norm in this culture. It's difficult to break away from that kind of norm. And then we have the concept of values, because we believe that if you want to make some changes, real changes, to get sort of another kind of students, there is also some values about what is important in life. For example, in a specific culture, for example, Asian cultures maybe, it still is so that hard work and sacrifice for goals in the future are valued. But in our Western society, in Sweden, for example, students mean that studies should be pleasure, it should be joyful, they should have immediate satisfaction. And these are values, we mean. And these are the concepts we have used to understand these results, these contradicting results.
So, how can we interpret our findings? Shortly, we could say that there is a dissonance between the traditional educational design and the expectations from external workplace. And there are conflicting values between the academic context and the world of work. Content and teaching learning activities are not aligned with a traditional design. CDIO courses deviate from the mainstream activities, and the image of the Y student is incongruent with the image of a curious, critical, innovative, communicative engineer to be, reflected in CDIO conferences and national goals for engineering education. We have so far focused opinions where the two groups are congruent, but of course there are variations within the groups. We will now illustrate this by a number of quotations.
And these results, the first three results, we were surprised that there were such a coherence between the students who were the first CDIO cohort. So we thought maybe it is, the baby sickness when they are pioneers. This is the first cohort, so you have to adjust to it. But the teachers were interviewed in now 2010, and we were surprised that there still was such a coherence about the experiences of the CDIO. And therefore, we wanted to see within these cohorts, the teacher cohort and the student cohort, they don't speak with one voice. There are some tensions within the groups. And that is what we mean, that the culture is sort of how do they experience the culture in the program. There were opinions about students' prerequisites and abilities. For example, I will give voice to the students. They say, for example, some students, I believe I have a natural aptitude for this kind of studies. I have always managed very well at school, and it is fun to study, and it is fun with maths and physics.
And one teacher says, students on the Y program who sit and work by themselves during the first years at university are potentially interesting people to recruit for PhD studies. They are extremely intelligent, competent and independent students. However, you have to make them start talking and fix that part. But when it comes to that, we have been successful with many students. Okay, we can also see that there are tensions between the timing of content forms of teaching, theory facts and application skills, cramming of content, discovery of knowledge. And we will also there give you some quotations. One teacher says like this, by lecturing, the teacher's experience of the subject and its structure is transmitted to the students. It constitutes the fastest way to gain knowledge in the subject area at hand. It's a way to rationally and in a short period of time become acquainted with a subject and gain crucial knowledge. The role of the teacher is to make the learning process fast and rational.
And the students say, faculty told us from the start, we know what we teach you and everything is planned in detail. But it has been very one-sided, lots of maths and stuff. Very well thought through, how we go through the foundations step by step. But I guess I will not use all this knowledge. With some of it, you have no idea what the meaning is.
And one teacher says, I want the students to understand what they are doing, not just gaining some knowledge on the surface, memorizing without understanding. The thing is that mathematics, that's what I am teaching, and when it comes to maths, understanding is fundamental. I would rather prefer more limited knowledge within a field as long as the students really understand what they are doing.
And then there were the opinions about the role of teachers for student learning, for motivation and development. And one male student said, I think they are good. They know their stuff. They're quite tough and self-assured, a bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger. But one female student said, I've been very upset with some teaching staff, very hostile to females. You don't want to ask him questions because he makes you feel stupid. He's well known for this, but he's good at his subject.
And the female teacher in my interview group, she says like this, there are no role models for the girls. When you discover that all the teachers are men and that the rest of the students are men, you realize from the very beginning that you won't have a chance here. And then the smart girls will choose another program.
So, 1 minute, I think. Based on these interviews with teachers and students, and remember these students maybe have not been educated in the CDIO curriculum, but it is implemented in their education. We conclude that basic design and structure, as well as ways of thinking and practicing the subject, are so taken for granted. Changes in a program can only be made within these structures.
The CDIO modules, i.e. project courses, are considered to be useful and joyful, where students meet program targets.
And what we can see is that in this program, there is a tension among teachers and students about what quality of engineering education for the 21st century is. So, is it primarily to fill the requirements of forming special characters, like in boarding schools and on military services, because that is what some of the students say? You have just to adapt to the way it is. Or is it to educate students who develop engineering skills, creativity, and to think about sustainability, skills that will make them springboard for innovation and to act as democratic citizens who can communicate, negotiate, and collaborate in a diverse global society? And I think this is the key issue addressed in many of these presentations, because it is CDIO going to be an integrated curriculum, or will it be just CDIO courses in traditional curricula? And that is the question we leave to you. Thank you.